I'm about to unload all of my secret sauce to how I grew my Instagram account to 130,000 followers, but more importantly, at least to me, how I grew my income to $100,000 every month as a business coach on the internet. I don't believe that there are get-rich-quick schemes that work very well, but I do believe that there are ways to get rich quicker. If you strongly believe that a 9 to 5 and a job is the only way to make money, I don't know if this video is going to help you or make you any happier. But if you have the slightest belief that you think it's possible, stick around. I think this is really going to help you. If you have an online mentorship or coaching business, or you're just an expert in your industry and you have knowledge that would help other people, this is going to be perfect for the growth of your business. If we haven't met yet or you haven't seen this face, my name is Chris. I'm just a normal guy who grew his online business to 7 figures. So then I started showing other people how to do the same thing by selling the thoughts in my brain. So if you have valuable thoughts, I want to share with you how you can monetize it. I want to start here. Anyone who has knowledge that is valuable to others can have a coaching business and can change other people's lives. I think there's a lot of limiting beliefs that we put on ourselves, that we need all these accolades, these credits, we need these credentials, we need to have done this for X amount of time, we should have went to college for this. None of that is true for you to be able to create a business in this day and age. There's so many people out there that want to learn what you already know, but you may not realize how valuable that knowledge is. So you don't need accolades, fancy titles and degrees, formal trainings, credits, fame. You just need transformational knowledge and the ability to support other people going through this transformation. Information is not the only thing. If information was the only thing, none of us would have jobs as coaches or mentors. There's so much information on the internet, on YouTube right now, that we don't even know where to start. Sometimes information becomes this overload and it creates this thing called analysis paralysis, where you just keep watching videos, you keep taking in more information, and then you do nothing about it. So that's why that support is important as well. So if you can give somebody the information they need, but also the support to help them get to that transformation, that's all you need. You don't need accolades, titles, degrees, I promise. None of that. This is how I started. All I did was I started sharing tips on producing music. I've been producing music for a while. I taught myself a lot of things. I learned from other people. I have some experience in it. So all I did was one day I just decided to start sharing the information that I knew on the internet. I posted on Instagram some fun little trick about how a compressor works, and some people were extremely grateful for it. I was amazed because I thought that everybody knew this information. I thought everybody knew what a compressor did. I thought everybody knew what a limiter was. I thought everyone knew how to produce music. And I only thought this because I'm basing everything off of the experiences that I've had in my life. Not everybody goes through the same experiences, so why would they know? You right now in your brain have a lot of information that I probably find valuable, and you don't even realize that it's something that somebody would buy. There's multi-million-dollar coaching programs out there showing people how to do handstands. A handstand, right? A handstand is cool, but is there people out there that would pay thousands of dollars to learn how to do it? Clearly. I mean, I would never have thought of that. I would have never thought that was going to be lucrative, but somebody thought of it. Somebody took the action. Somebody built that business. Clearly, there's a lot of people that want to buy it. It makes multi-million dollars. I want you to take this out of your brain, to think that I don't have anything valuable for anybody. I don't know what people would pay for. Think about the things that you've spent a large part of your life doing and learning, accumulating this information. You've spent so much time bringing this information in your brain, running it through your brain every single day, that you just feel like it's just normal and that everybody knows it already. It's not true. There are people out there that would love to know that and would love to pay you to do it. So here's a brain breaker as well. You don't need to be an absolute expert. You don't need to be a doctorate. You don't need to be this absolute professional at the thing that you want to teach. You just need to be one step ahead of the type of person you want to help. This is something that I think about all the time. And this is something that when someone told me, it broke my brain, because I had imposter syndrome, which is where you believe that you're not good enough. Who's going to want to pay me? Who's going to want to learn from me? You only need to be one step ahead. And the best way to think about this is think about the version of yourself 5 to 10 years ago. Think about that person. What kind of struggles did you have? What problems did you go through? What was keeping you from getting where you want to be? This could be in guitar. This could be in becoming a doctor. This could be a health person. It could be anything. Whatever you do, your expertise, think of where you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. That's your perfect client. Your perfect client is usually an older version of you. If you were in the position where you are 5 years ago, and you could learn from the version of yourself today, skip all the headaches, skip all the trial and error, just get the information and the transformation to be able to skip that next 5 years and make it in like half a year. What is that worth? What would you do to learn from the version of yourself today if you were the past version of yourself? There's this example of Frank Abagnale. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. It's called Catch Me If You Can. He was this famous con artist that went into a sociology college, like a prestigious one, started teaching a whole term of sociology and didn't know anything about it. And when he finally got caught and arrested for all the cons that he had done, they asked him, like, how did you get through an entire semester teaching sociology and not knowing anything about it? He said it was easy. I just had to be one chapter ahead. So that's all you have to be. He was able to teach an entire college program just by reading one chapter ahead, teaching that chapter, next day reading the chapter, teaching that chapter. You just need to be one step ahead. So you don't need to be so incredibly far away. Like if, I use this example all the time, but I taught music production and made a lot of money off of it. If Timbaland was teaching music production, which he does, and he charges way less than I did, how do I have a business? Well, people don't just buy from absolute experts that feel like they're light years away. Some people resonate with you and the level that you're at and just being one step ahead. So all you need to be is one step ahead. First graders, there was this study that said that first graders teach kindergartners better than their adult teachers. Reason being is because the first grader had just experienced what the kindergartner is going through last year. Think about when the teacher experienced kindergarten. Years and years and years ago. So they're just going based off of books and theory of what it was like. They can't remember exactly what it was like. However, the first grader just went through this experience and it's fresh in their mind. So they can tell them all the nuances of what it's like being in kindergarten, the best way to learn, what mistakes they made because it's so fresh in their mind. So sometimes learning from somebody who's just one step ahead of you can be more beneficial than learning from somebody who's light years ahead of you. Now, there's things that the other person you can learn from as well, better, but again, you just want to take things step by step. That's what people want to do. They just want to get to the next level, and once they're at the next level, then want to get to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. Sometimes it's hard to imagine yourself being at a level that's so far ahead. If you just started playing guitar and you couldn't even hold the frets, could you think about like shredding solos? It's hard to think about. All I can think about is like playing my first chord. So some people want to learn from people who are just one step ahead of you. So also some people buy your product and your services because they relate to you more than they relate to maybe the expert that is light years ahead of them. People sometimes will buy you just for you. Think about the people that you watch on YouTube. There's got to be YouTubers out there where you've watched them over and over. You've seen their face for hours, that you feel like you know them and trust them, that if they made an offer, you would buy it and you wouldn't even know what it is. You're like, it sounds good. I'm going to buy it. I trust them. No doubt in my mind, I would buy from them. I know there's people like that for me. Some people buy your product because they relate to you. So if you put yourself out there as a business, as a brand, there are going to be people who want to buy you for you, whatever your thing is. So if you have this belief that you can't teach anything because you're not worthy, think about these concepts that I just told you. All right, let's dive into the little nitty gritty things I was talking about. So Instagram followers. I had organically grown Instagram followers to about 98,000. Like I was saying, I attracted a lot of music producers. I was always giving music production tips, tutorials. I had a music production coaching program at first. That was my audience. That was my niche. That's who I catered to. I attracted all these people that wanted to learn that from me. Once I got to 98,000 followers, I started feeling like this is not the business for me. This is not how I wanted it to go. I do not want to be around these people. I want to be around higher level thinkers. Because while I grew this business, I started learning more business concepts about sales, marketing, things like that. And there was this world out there of people just making absurd money, first of all, but they had this mentality of growth. that they just kept wanting to push and get better and get better and get better. And I couldn't feel to make that growth that I wanted so bad, seeing those people being stuck in this corner of music production. So I made this big conscious decision knowing that I would switch up the audience, switch up my offer, everything, and that I was going to tank what I had already built before. So at 98,000 followers, I did a complete 180 and I switched audiences. I didn't help music producers anymore. I was now helping people who educated people. And so this is completely different, talking about compressors and music production nerd stuff over to business concepts. Guess what my audience did? They stopped engaging with me as much as they did. 98,000 people, years of doing this. I was like, nope, let's make this switch. And it was a conscious decision knowing that I would lose a ton of engagement. And that's exactly what happened. I lost engagement. I went from getting millions of views, thousands of likes, to like 50 likes on a post. Guess what that shows too? It shows a lot of people who don't know me. They're like, oh, he buys followers. That's what it looks like from the outside, right? However, what was more important to me than the vanity metric, because you can't always believe what you see on the surface level, I made more money because I was in a different vehicle, speaking to people who liked to buy more, people who wanted to grow mentally, and people just wanted to elevate themselves, right? So overall, besides what's on the surface of social media, everything else was growing. My income was growing. The people around me were higher level thinkers, and that's what I wanted. So I was willing to make that trade to go from lost engagement to this. But that's kind of what happened. I grew it organically. So I'll just preface that by saying that I didn't run this strategy that I'm about to teach you. I grew it organically. So what this means, what I took away from this is that quality over quantity. Again, this is a very common thing that you hear all the time. Quality versus quality. Quality versus quantity. If I have hundreds of thousands of followers that aren't really going to buy from me, they're kind of just like, I'm just here for free information, I would rather take 1,000 true fans than hundreds of thousands of followers. But again, that depends on what your goal is. If you want the vanity metric, if you want the popularity or whatever it is that you want, then maybe this isn't the method. But if you're looking for income, you're looking to grow a business, this is, I believe, quality over quantity. So here is the gameplay. I know I yapped a little bit, but here is the gameplay. This is exactly how I grew my business to like my first $100,000 a month. It's very simple, but simplicity is what works well. But what's more important is the execution, and I'll go over that in a little bit. But this is the gameplay. What we do is we take someone who is a complete stranger, doesn't know us at all, just found us in the ether of the internet. We show them an ad called a follower ad. All we're asking in this ad is we're calling out our audience, talking about their pain points so that we can relate, and asking for a very low ask. When you run ads and ask somebody for a name, email, phone number, watch this training, it's going to be more expensive because you're asking more from them and you're putting in less effort. This is a basic principle, but if you put in more effort and take less from them and expect less from them, it's usually cheaper, which is why as ad spend goes up, this is a very good way to continue running ads. All you're asking from them is to hit the follow button on your profile. That's it. Not asking for their personal information, just hit that follow button. As soon as they hit that follow button, they're going to start seeing our content being dripped into their news feed. And in our bio, we're going to have something called a VSL, a video sales letter. It's a training that shows them to our audience, the perfect client, the people we want to attract. It's going to teach them. It's going to explain what we have to offer them that would help them. And then it would get them to book a phone call with us. And it would handle a bunch of excuses that you know will come up, that always comes up, before they get on the phone. Because when you're on the phone, it's a way more powerful position to have them already have their objections laid to rest, have their trust. That way, when they get on the call, they're just like, I know what you have already. Like, I'm just excited to be part of it. Versus you jumping on the phone and being like, hey, this is what you need. This is what I'm going to give you. This is why you need it. And then they just take in all this information on one call. They get overwhelmed and they're like, let me think about it. So this VSL, this video, is a very crucial point of this. This is what changes everything. So again, stranger to follower ad, they'll see content VSL. But let's just say they don't see any of your content or your VSL. What we do as soon as they follow us is we send them a message and have a conversation with them. We're going to have a conversation and qualify them and ask them some questions and get them to want to schedule a call with us. So that's the next thing. So I want to run through this real quick. Follower ad to content. If they watch your VSL on their own by going in your bio and clicking it, they can book a phone call with you. But let's say that they don't, which most people won't. Follow, we have the conversation, we ask them questions, we qualify them, and then in the messenger, this is where we ask them if they want to schedule a call. Once they schedule a call, what we do is we show them this VSL. So you see how this is being used twice. How I look at this video is it's your core piece of content for your entire business. Everything else works around it. The conversation, the ads, scheduling the call, sales call. It all works around this video. But having this video in place makes everything so much easier. It completely dramatically increases your ability to close any clients. If you didn't have this VSL and you were just scheduling a call, you can still do it. But I guarantee you, having a video in place that is specifically laid out, not just any video, specifically in a certain format, it's going to help you dramatically. This is where they jump on the call. So you book the call, then you have them watch the VSL before they jump on the call. You jump on the call, you answer the questions, you see if they're qualified, you make them an offer, and you enroll them into it as a client. Okay? So this is the whole system. Stranger, follower ad, just asking for a follow. They'll see your content in your VSL. You'll have a conversation with them, ask them to schedule a call. You have them watch the video, you take the call, and you enroll them as a client. And now this makes sense, this flow, if you're charging at least $3,000 and above for your program, your services. This doesn't make sense to have a conversation with everybody if you're going to charge $20. And that's the best thing to do too, is charge higher ticket first, because higher ticket is just going to help you move the needle in your business much faster than a low ticket course. So if you're willing to go through this process and you want to make thousands of dollars a month, like this is the framework. I make between $80,000 to $120,000 a month doing this with a very slim team. How do we run the ads, right? What do we do to create the ad? There's two frameworks that I'm going to show you. One is called direct call out, and the other one is leading with value. Let's go over the direct first. This is what a lot of people teach. This is the easier framework to do. So let's talk about it. What you do in a direct call out is you call out the pain points and your audience's label. So pain points being, what are the problems that are keeping these people up at night? I'm not talking about like little problems. I'm talking about hit them where it hurts. Because if you have an open wound and somebody sticks a finger in there, they're going to get your attention a lot easier than somebody who's just tapping on your shoulder. Hey guy. Whereas if I came up and just poked you straight in the wound, you're going to be like, whoa, why'd you do that? Right? So pain points always land harder. So find the greatest problems that your clients are going through right now, what's keeping them up at night, and talk about that. Call it out, and then label them. The audience label needs to be something that they identify as. A guitarist is going to be like, I'm a guitarist. If you make something fancy, right? Like, are you a music selfpreneur or whatever? Right? They don't identify as that. They don't call themselves that on a day-to-day. If I'm in a band and I play guitar, I'm going to be like, I'm a guitarist. I'm a lead guitarist. That's what I call myself. This is what I say to people when they ask me what I do. I'm a lead guitarist for this band. If somebody asks you what you do for your work and you're a doctor, you're going to say, I'm a doctor. I'm a physician. What do they label themselves as? That's very important. Okay, the next thing is a descriptive filter. So let's just say I called out an entrepreneur or millionaire. Let's just say that, right? Like if I said, doesn't it feel like a full-time job trying to look for different tax loopholes to save money on dollars you had already worked hard to make? If you are an entrepreneur who makes millions, this is how this is going to help you. And then a descriptive filter can be like things that they're going through right now to try to fix their problems, but you want to describe it step by step in a story format where they can start imagining themselves going through the situation. And if the story they imagine that you told them in relates to what they're going through in their life, there's going to be this massive trust that's being built. So if you said you spend hours in front of the computer staring, watching an overabundant amount of YouTube tutorials to find different ways to try to save money and different loopholes, but it doesn't help because it's just information overload. And so you take no action. You just end up having to hire a CPA that doesn't save you any of the money. So if I said something like that, described it in great detail, somebody who is having that problem is going to be like, how do you know that's the exact thing I'm going through? How do I fix it? That's always their immediate next question. If you've described it so well that they believe you understand what they're going through, they automatically assume that you have some kind of solution for it. So that's what I would do as a descriptive filter, is just describe their life so well that they trust you. So if I said, you want to become this musician and you want to get paid for it because it's something that you love so much, but you're scared because you make 6 figures at your job. You went to school for 5 years for it, and you're finally in a place where you're starting to pay off this debt from school. So you're afraid to drop it all, but your true passion lies in music. If I said something like that, it's going to hit home emotionally. And that's the most important part, is that you hit them emotionally and not just logically. The logic brain, it just doesn't get people to take action as much as the emotional side of the brain. So next thing you would do after the descriptive filter is just a call to action. Hey, if this sounds like you, follow my page. Go through my content. That's it. That's what a call to action is. What is the thing you want them to do? And all we're asking for is a follow. And then you can prove, after you ask them, hey, follow my page and go through my content. I'll show you how I went from here to here in X amount of time without doing these things I know you don't want to do. This is where you talk about your transformation and what you've done and why your method works for you. And then you start talking about others as well. So I like to say, I'm not a special unicorn, special snowflake. This doesn't just work for me. This is how I helped my students get from here to here. So a lot of times this seeds the objection of saying it probably works for you because you have some special situation. So then you got to prove it by showing that you've helped other people do it, if it's true. And then you have another call to action, and that's your ad. So you just ask for a follow. You call them out, talk about their pain points, label them, describe their problem, call to action, have them follow, transformation, how you helped others, call to action again at the end. This is the one I like more. Leading with value, and you just break their brain and their current beliefs that are holding them back. This is better as a long-term play because you're proving to the market that you know what you're talking about and that you can give them information that is valuable to them. Because if somebody believes something so strongly and you make that shift and you completely change and break their mind about what they thought their entire life, they're going to remember you more than they remember the guy that was just calling people out. I'm not saying that the other one doesn't work. They both work. Both types of scripts work. I just personally like this better as a long-term play. I'll show you some proof as well. Here's an ad that I have where people just roast me because I just talk about pain points and I'm just like, I'm doing the first script. Hey, you're this person, here's your problem, follow me, help, whatever. People don't like that, right? I'm not saying that it doesn't work because this ad has brought me money because these are all like losers and they weren't going to change their life anyways. And plus, obviously, you'll see one person says something, the next person says something, the next person says something, the next person says something, this person's racist. Like, it's just like a bunch of losers, right? So they just feed off each other. But that's the thing with humans is like we feed off of each other. And that's just human psychology. So this is kind of what happens when you do like the direct, just like, hey, if you're this person, you want this, I'll give you this. This is how people react to it. This ad, however, was me talking about just straight value first. I explained how if you're attracting the wrong person, here's what you can do to attract the right person. And I changed their belief around the entire thing. And this is the types of comments I get. This is brilliant. Thanks for your advice. Extremely clear. Enjoy your enthusiasm. Genuine. Good stuff. This is brilliant. So you see, like, people work off of each other regardless anyways, based on what they're seeing other people do. But powerful insight and nice. But this is me explaining value, giving value first. Even this ad was informative. Good job. So even though it was an ad, people were really liking what I was saying because I was giving value first. So this is the framework to give value. What I do is same thing. Call out their pain point and audience. And again, reason being is if there's a pain point that exists for somebody and you say it, you poke the pain, you're going to get their attention right away. Then you label them. So you're like, hey, finger to wound. Like, Jimmy, pay attention to me. That's what you're doing. And then you explain why the common belief, meaning that conventional wisdom, what most people in the industry, what most people in that space believe, why it's not true. If I said, for musicians, if I said, you don't need a bunch of credits, placements, and accolades to be able to make a living off of music, and then I explain through why it's not true, then I explain why my belief, my system, is better if they believe that. And I prove it to be true. So you don't need a bunch of accolades, because at the end of the day, what somebody wants from you is a good service and a good product. And then I explain why it's true. You could be Dr. Dre, but somebody is still going to expect a beat from Dr. Dre if they're paying them. So they still want the product at the end of the day. The accolade, that stuff doesn't matter unless the product is delivered. So then they're like, that's true. And they start to believe this. And then I'll say, I'll show you how I'm able to deliver a really good product for my clients and be able to charge more money. Follow my page and go through my content, and I'll show you how. And then I talk about the transformation for myself and others, and then another call to action. So really, it's kind of the same. The big thing is just the bulk of the middle, which is the belief. So I'm talking about why this belief isn't true, why it's flawed. I tell them my belief in my system, and then I prove to them in ways where they can understand easily how it's true. And this way is my favorite way of doing things, because it's leading with value, and it's how you get people to remember you. If you really change someone's mind on something, that is how you get them to remember you. It's going to be way easier than just calling people's pain points and stuff out. Now, the other way works as well. It's easier because it's so direct, but this way is good for your brand long term, I believe. I just gave you everything. This is how I grew to $100,000 a month and beyond. And I just want you to remember something. Like, this is the important part. Execution is everything. It's just not the steps. The steps aren't enough, right? I just told you all the steps, but that's not necessarily enough. It depends on how you execute on it. So if there were 50 people, for example, just casting for a lead role of being Peter Pan, I audition, you audition, next guy auditions, 50 people. We all have the same script. We're saying the same words. How many people will get the part? One. One person gets the lead role because they executed it best. So we could have the same script, we could have the same framework, and we could have the same steps like I just showed you, but the person who executes it the best or better is going to get the result, whereas the other people are not. So it's not just the steps, it's based on execution. We run the same gameplay and we get different results. So learning how to do it well and not just trying it for a little bit and then giving up when it doesn't work right away, that's not going to get you anywhere. The person who stuck with one method and got good at it is going to eat you alive if that's your mentality. I'm going to leave a video right here above to check out to learn how to execute a high-ticket coaching business the right way. It's going to teach you how to charge more, how to market to the right people, how to do sales. This video right here, if you're an expert, you're a coach, and you want to learn how to grow your business, the video is right here. Check it out. I hope this was helpful to you guys because, again, it's just more information. But if you want to learn how to execute on all this, I'll leave a link below as well for you to watch a training, and you can book a call with me to see if I can help you grow your business, make more money, and give you the freedom. But regardless, hope this was helpful. Hit subscribe, share this with a friend that you feel like would benefit from this, and I'll see you in the next video.